Alex Zoltan with True North. If you thought my friend's question was odd, you're going to love this one.
I'm glad you self-assessed that. Okay.
How many genders are there?
There, in terms of sex, there are 2. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Smash the like, hit subscribe.
In a couple of weeks, Mark Carney will have been Prime Minister for a full year. Has anything gotten better? Take grocery prices. Mark Carney himself asked Canadians specifically to judge him on inflation on the price of groceries at the store.
Well, I think the way Canadians will hold account by their experience at the grocery store, when they're paying their electricity bill, when they or their children are looking for a place to live.
Well, Mark, the verdict is in, and it's not good for you, but especially not good for 40 million Canadians.
There are a myriad that I've stopped buying, mostly meat, beef.
Everything. Eggs. Tremendously.
I just picked up a cauliflower and I was shocked that it was $4.99. I definitely avoid cheese now.
Now, I don't need to run a whole bunch of data by you. You see it every day in the grocery store. I mean, I see in my own community people with jobs putting beef back on the shelf because they just can't afford it. But just a couple of numbers for you to consider. Canada, under Mark Carney, now has the highest food inflation in the G7. Food inflation is now double what it is in the US. And it's costing families $1,000 more for groceries this year. Coffee is up 36%. Ground beef up 21%. Strawberries and oranges up 18%. Now remember, inflation is not some naturally occurring phenomenon like the UV index or wind chill or humidity. It's not like you open up your app and say, oh, the UV index is 3.5 and good Lord, there's more inflation on the horizon. No. Inflation is always directly linked to government policy. The first big culprit, as I've explained in several videos, and you can see the link below, is devaluing the currency. When governments run massive deficits, forcing central banks to create new currency out of thin air, that devalues the dollar that you've worked so hard for. More dollars chasing the same number of goods means prices go up. But there's another culprit for why Canadians pay the highest food inflation in the G7, and that's hidden Liberal taxes. This is actually the easiest thing for the government control because it's their direct policy that caused it.
We need to use effectively a shadow carbon price, meaning that you map into a representative carbon price the impact of, for example, an emissions regulation.
I want you to imagine 2 farms. Let's imagine these 2 farms are on either side of the Canada-US border. Both have identical soil conditions, similar climates, and are in rural and remote places of their respective country. The Canadian farmer has to pay a whole bunch of taxes that the American farmer doesn't. For example, when the Canadian farmer goes to buy a brand new piece of equipment, all that steel that went into that manufacturing had the industrial carbon tax slapped on it. That drives up the cost of his new equipment. Now, what about the fuel? It takes a lot of fuel to seed, spray, and harvest food. When the Canadian farmer goes to load up on all that fuel, he has to pay the Liberal Fuel Standards Tax. This is a hidden tax that you will never see on your receipt because it's buried into the cost. And it right now is adding 7 cents a liter to the price of gasoline. So every time that farmer goes back and forth up and down the rows of his field, he's not just paying for the fuel, but that extra tax. On the US side, that farmer doesn't have to pay either of those extra costs.
Come on, Jimmy. Let's take a peek at the killing floor. Don't let the name throw you, Jimmy. It's not really a floor. It's more of a steel grating that allows material to sluice through so it can be collected and exported.
When the food arrives at the processing center, the industrial carbon tax applies. And remember, the industrial carbon tax, that is what Mark Carney said he would call a phantom carbon tax. He thought the problem with Justin Trudeau's consumer carbon tax was that you noticed it.
We need to use effectively a shadow carbon price, meaning that you map into a representative carbon price the impact of, for example, an emissions regulation.
His solution? Hide it and hike it. And And that's exactly what he's doing.
Just a reminder, gang, smash the like, hit subscribe. We work really hard at this stuff. Let's get back to the video.
And again, the U.S. Food Processing Center doesn't have to pay an industrial carbon tax. Now, all of these taxes and hidden costs all stack up on each other and cascade through the supply chain, meaning that you, the consumer, pay for it all when you go to the grocery store. On the U.S. side, none of those extra costs stack up. That's why even though Canada produces so much food, it costs so much more in Canada than it does in the U.S. So we go back to those two farms and listen to the Liberal excuses for why inflation is higher in Canada than anywhere else. First, they'll say things like, it's the war in Ukraine. Well, both those farms exist in a world where there is a war in Ukraine. They'll say things like, well, it's climate change, don't you know? These two farmers farm so close to each other, they could hit each other with snowballs. They're both affected by changing climates equally. Another bogus excuse Liberals will say, it's U.S. tariffs.
I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary.
U.S. tariffs make things going into the U.S. more expensive. If anything, U.S. tariffs should drive up American grocery prices faster than Canadian.
That's right. On Friday, the president also signed an executive order repealing his tariffs on a range of food imports, including coffee, beef, and bananas. The rollback comes amid nationwide complaints of high grocery prices.
The Conservatives have a common sense solution. Let's scrap those hidden taxes that drive up the cost of food and put an end to the inflationary deficits that devalue the Canadian dollar. The Liberal solution is to keep hiking those hidden taxes, but they've recycled a Justin Trudeau-style rebate. They are going to give some Canadians some of their own money back. The vast majority of Canadians won't even qualify for this program. And you know what? Justin Trudeau tried it. It did not work then. It will not work now.
That's why we created the new grocery rebate, which will allow an eligible couple with 2 children to receive up to $467.
So today we're announcing that our government is launching the new Canada's Groceries and Essentials benefit.
They're borrowing billions more to pay for this program. So once again, more dollars chasing the same number of goods will lead to more inflation. Any relief that any Canadian might experience from this increased rebate will be wiped away as inflation keeps rising, thanks to Liberal inflationary deficits and hidden fuel taxes driving up the cost. Here's a picture I want to leave you with. It's Bill Blair's constituency office. I think this sums up Canada after 10 years of Liberal government and after almost a year of Mark Carney. Bill Blair is off to the UK. He's going to be Canada's High Commissioner in London. He won't ever have to worry about buying his own groceries while he's there. But look at this lineup. Look at this food bank. It's just a few doors down from his MP's office. If you listen to Liberals in the House of Commons, you might think that this government is solving all these problems. Well, I guarantee you, anyone standing in line in a food bank just a few doors down from a Liberal MP's office who's on his way to London for a luxurious posting, they don't believe that anything is better off after a year of Mark Carney.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Zoltan with True North. If you thought my friend's question was odd, you're going to love this one.
I'm glad you self-assessed that. Okay.
How many genders are there?
In terms of sex, there are 2. Thank you.
My follow-up question then, do you believe that women, biological women, have the right to their own spaces, their own sports, their own change rooms, their own prisons, their own homeless shelters?
I think this is Canada, and that as a general objective, yes. But we work where we value all Canadians for who they are, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Merci.
Okay.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. We're going to wrap it up. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below. Ciao for now. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks again for watching. We're out.